let's speak to Professor James Woudhuysen, who's a forecaster and also visiting a lecturer at South Bank University. Good to have you with us, Professor Woudhuysen. First of all, how worried should we be by this forecasting of energy bills potentially doubling in a year?
Well, there's too much panic generally in society, Claudia Liza, but I think it's a cause of great concern. I would say that £2,000 for an energy bill next year is actually an optimistic estimate. Could go to £2,500. And no, it's really, it's serious. And I'm just reading up on fuel poverty, which I don't quite believe in as a category, because I think poverty is poverty. But if we must define poverty by, how expensive your energy bills are and how poorly insulated your house is, it's a fact that they've missed all the targets for 2020 for trying to upgrade houses from band F and G on those energy charts you get to band E, and they don't even know where most of the people in fuel poverty actually live. So, if you're really an old age pensioner and you're in a poorly insulated home and you're freezing your ass off up north, and you've now got a bill for £2,000, £2,500 for next winter 2022, that's really a very serious matter.
So in all of this, when we did see energy prices rise in really scary ways over the last few months, in all of this, the thought was come spring next year, we could actually see prices coming down again. Is that still something that could happen?
I think it's completely out of the question. I mean,
really?
the real culprit in all of this is, the ridiculous amounts of money we're having to lay out for unreliables, which is the name I like to give to renewables. And just recently, I think 2% of our electricity needs were served by wind and solar power.
Gosh, is that all the money, all the windmills we've seen just
what you hear from our environmentalist friends is it's 47%, and that's on a good day. But right now, throughout Europe, in fact, the wind has been very still, and we just don't have the kilowattage, the megawattage coming out of wind turbines that we would like. And, we need to remember that government policy in line with COP26 is to actually make gas more expensive. We've got rising gas prices throughout Europe. Putin gets a lot of flack for that. What doesn't get mentioned so often is our useless storage facilities for gas in Britain. But it is government policy broadly to, disincentivize the use of a carbon-based fuel like gas, move us onto electricity. And to do that, they actually want gas prices to be higher.
But
so that's why
there should be alternatives. If they want that, there should be better infrastructure when it comes to that electricity provision.
Well, that's right. And for gas, I mean, in fact, there is the tools are available for us. They're called fracking. But as you know, Claudia Liza, if you started fracking anywhere, you basically go down to the center of the earth, the core would explode, fire would come out of your tap. And all the celebrities, who've died in America because of fracking, would suddenly come back as Night of the Living Dead. So we can't do that, can we? And that's what's really conspicuous about the whole discussion on energy prices. Always about VAT, always about tax, subsidies, price signals, never about actually getting some more energy out of the place, never actually investing in new technology. Seriously, the only new technology we're allowed to invest in is wind and solar. Everything else pretty much off the table.
So what is going on? Why are we seeing gas prices rise the way we are seeing them rise? Why is it not coming down?
Well, the conventional explanation is, we've got a recovery from COVID around the world, although we can question that if you look at the latest data coming out of South Korea or somewhere like that. There's an enormous amount of demand for gas. Therefore, prices rise as the economy recovers. Therefore, inflation will only be temporary once it's all ironed out. That's what Andrew Bailey said at the Bank of England after his less than illustrious career at the Financial Conduct authority. And of course, the inflation isn't going to be temporary, because inflation isn't just a result of supply and demand. That's sort of GCSE economics. Part of the reason for the inflation is there's been no investment in gas facilities, including storage, but also exploration, pipelines, and all the rest of it. You need to make that investment rather than the investment in rubber band wind power and all the rest of it that needs gas as a backup. Now, gas is essential and will be essential, I'm afraid, like coal, for a very long time, for years and years. Coal's going through a renaissance at the moment in Asia. So, we need to adjust to some hard realities, which is we need investment, we need new technology. It cannot be restricted to sustainable technologies, so-called renewables. It's got to take place in fracking, in gas, in nuclear. And the only gleam on the horizon is, the government is starting to commence to get ready to rock and roll on small modular reactors. That will take 10 years to develop. Meanwhile, within the next 10 months, we're all going to be hit by these nasty energy bills.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at some short-term answers to all of this. As I mentioned earlier, the Business and Energy Secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, he was meeting with Ofgem and also energy bosses. And if I remember correctly, the last time he met with energy bosses, he did nothing. So what can we expect him to do this time round?
Well, not a lot. They for some reason, the government's much more interested in just letting 25 energy suppliers go to the wall with all the turmoil that brings. I think it's 26, the latest figure. While they're prepared to spray away tons of money on the NHS, if it's anything to do with gas or even electricity, they're much less conscientious.
Well, he implied it was their fault, or that they weren't going to support failing energy firms, as if it was their fault that they were losing money in all of this, nothing to do with the rise in gas prices.
Yes, well, I mean, it's true to say that, really since Tony Blair, the Tories have given up on all that free market economic stuff. They only give it an outing, when they sort of suddenly stop the smile and bare the teeth and say, you 25 who've gone to the wall, tough titty, that's capitalism, folks, and all the rest of it. But it means a lot of people out of work. It means a lot of people having to scrabble to change supplier. It means you may have to pay the bill twice, and you'll certainly have to wait for a refund. But, if you're Kwasi Kwarteng or Rishi Sunak, you're not living in that world. Energy bills don't make an impact on your life. They're not thinking about you and me or old age pensioners.
So looking forward, you mentioned one solution which could be 10 years down the line and actually having an impact. Anything else that the UK government could be doing to make sure that this doesn't happen again, that we're not impacted by a rise in wholesale gas prices?
They could start fracking and diss the press, the anti-fracking press, right away. That could be done within months. There are firms, raring to go on that front.
I mean, are they linked to earthquakes? That was one of the biggest fears.
The earthquakes are about 2 on the Richter scale. The Richter scale, Claudia Liza, is a logarithmic scale. Let's not get technical. But, by the time you've moved from 2 to 3, it's really much, much bigger. By the time you're a conventional earthquake, 6, 7, or 8, you're way, 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 way bigger than a little rumble because of some fracking. We really have to stop this precautionary principle where every risk means that we can do nothing. Because there's no risk about people having to pay £2,000 a year for their energy bill next year. That's going to happen, and in fact, it's going to be higher.
Oh gosh, that's really, really depressing stuff. What can the government needs to do something? We just can't be sitting here and then just paying out more money, shelling out more money.
Well, that's right. And we need to remember that the answer is not in demand side measures like insulating homes, retrofitting them. That would take forever as well. It's not by putting on a jersey, Claudia Liza, or putting on some felt in your loft What we need is some supply side solutions that make energy much more affordable, much more reliable, doesn't get blown out every time there's a storm, and that recognizes that in fact the price of renewables energy is not going down. You can't isolate them as a single source like that. You need to invest in the whole system, and that requires some serious investment in fossil fuels
and
alongside.
That's not part of Boris Johnson's rhetoric, is it, when it comes to his green agenda? But Professor James Woudhuysen, always good talking to you, visiting professor at South Bank University.